He's just messing with me now.
I'm live now.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to NPU Live. My name is Keri Rodriguez.
And I'm Tim Langen.
It is Monday, April 20th, 2020. Just a reminder, it is Monday.
That's right. All day.
That's right. Public service we offer to you every morning, reminding you what day of the week it is.
That's right.
Because for parents, there seems to be 3 days. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
That's
but
right.
Today is a Monday, and entering week 6 of the quarantine.
Yep. Week 6.
Oh,
and
boy.
I'm going to tell you, Keri, so we had a great weekend.
We did.
I had my boys all weekend. Very minimal screen time, so they were actually present. We spent a lot of time, and I don't want to say like we were just wandering around mask-free. We did get out a couple of times. And why don't you share with us what we saw?
Oh my goodness. So we were trying to just find a path that wasn't heavily populated. We've got like these black masks that kind of make us look like bowling ball heads, as my kids say. I'm a bowling ball when you were.
Well, I think I look great, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Sure.
of course you do. When don't you, Tim? Oh my goodness. Anyway, so we're looking for an unpopulated area, and we actually found one, a
Yes.
really nice spot by the Mystic River. Not a lot of folks down there. We took a walk by the river. It was very nice. We found some jellyfish and some jellyfish babies, which was pretty.
Yep, that was cool.
They were pretty
That was cool.
epic. Maybe we'll show you some pictures this week, but it was a wonderful investigation. But after that, we said, we're not ready to go inside. We've been spending so much time in the house.
Right.
Gorgeous, Sunday afternoon, about 60 degrees, but we want to be responsible, right? So we were riding around, listening to a podcast.
Yep, just driving around.
Brains
Brains on.
on.
Brains on.
Little brain action for you.
That's right.
Learning about the science of laughter,
The
as we
science of-
actually discussed on Friday with
That's right.
Mira, which was incredible. But we took a ride to a park in Somerville, Massachusetts.
Drove by it.
In
Yep.
the city where we live.
Yep.
And it was stunning to see how many people
Yeah.
were just sitting in the park having a picnic. You would have no idea that there was a pandemic right now and
Yep.
there was a stay-at-home.
People having a couple of picnics, people playing soccer. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you just brought up that's week 6 of this.
Yes.
Guys, it's week 6. This isn't new. Please stay inside. It's for our own safety.
Yeah, and yesterday too, like as we saw all of these people congregating in the park. We took a ride, into Boston towards Storrow Drive,
Yes.
watching folks on the pedestrian bridges. It looked like a typical Sunday. You would have no idea, maybe a couple smatterings of people with masks, but really the majority of people no masks.
Right.
It was very upsetting to
Right.
see. And it was upsetting because, the longer we ignore social distancing guidelines,
Right.
the more difficult it's going to be and the longer we're all going to have to go through this. So I don't know, I had a really emotional reaction to it. I was pretty pissed off, frankly, to see people doing this.
Yep.
It's just irresponsible. So again, CDC guidelines, we don't have to like them, but we got to do them. It's like when you say to your kid, like, this is not a, can do, it's a must do.
Right.
You got to cover your face. You got to cover your mouth. You got to cover your nose. You got to stay home unless it's absolutely necessary. These are the guidelines from our governor here in Massachusetts. Most governors across the entire nation, like right now, we want to take this opportunity to really, once again, reinforce these guidelines. We're reaching over 1 million families every single week here, and we feel like it's our obligation to remind you once again. I know week 6, it's very difficult, but we've got to do everything we can to flatten this curve so we can all get out of this soon.
And it's a bummer, guys. I get it. I if anyone knows Songkick, I'm a big music freak. I like to go see lots of concerts. I had lots of tickets specifically this week to go see bands play. They're all canceled. I get it. It's a bummer. I don't want to stay inside. I also don't want to accidentally put on my son's mask that smells and tastes like Doritos. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's life.
Yeah, life with a 6-year-old wearing a mask. I think I had the Dorito mask at one point.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I think everyone's had the Dorito mask.
It's the nose and the mouth.
You know right away it's not your mask.
It's Dylan's mask.
It's Dylan's mask.
It's covered with nacho cheese, which
isn't a bad thing.
Isn't that bad?
Isn't a bad thing when it's your nacho cheese. When it's Dylan's nacho cheese in your face, that's a problem. But guys, please stay inside. I know it sucks, but you know what? Either we do it now or we do it a year from now.
in all the indicators, we're starting to see people get crabby. You know,
Yeah.
you're seeing protests. Don't you tell me what to do. I actually think it's kind of funny, you know, when we're seeing a lot of
Well-
white males now saying, don't tell me what to do with
Well-
my body. Oh, well.
Yikes. Yikes.
Oh, boy.
Well,
That's interesting.
Well, the thing I love is when they go to the social distancing protests wearing masks, or there was one politician, I have to see which state it was in, that actually went into support her constituents' protest, but she did it virtually from a Zoom call.
Yeah. Because she's not trying to mix it up with the rabble there.
Right.
Because you could get COVID-19.
That's
is
right.
The thing.
That's right.
So there's a lot to get to today. We're going to
Tons of stuff, actually.
I'm really excited about our guest today, who is, you know, she's an expert. You know, she's the head of this, you know, incredible, you know, schools, group of schools in New
Yep.
York City. But she's just an awesome human being. So I'm
I like
just
awesome human
excited
beings.
to catch up with Nancy. So she's coming up. But before we do that, we want to hop into the news.
Yeah.
Let you know what's happening this week. Just quickly taking a look at the weather this week, it looks like there's going to be a line of storms possible in the Northeast, followed by snow. For
More
us,
snow.
a storm bringing severe weather to the south midweek. So we've got to watch out for our friends in South Carolina,
That's right.
in Georgia, in Florida, in Tennessee. All of these folks you see coming on the National Parents Union broadcast, they're going to be in the line of fire. And they've been dealing with tornadoes. So
Tornadoes, right.
we're
Please
gonna
stay safe.
have to check in with our homies to make sure everybody's safe. You know, on top of having to shelter at home, you're also sheltering the bathtub. Oh my goodness. And then there could be a third system this week that brings rain to parts of the Midwest and the East. So
Yikes.
looks like,
Get your shovels and umbrellas out.
and this impacts us folks because then you can't even really get out in the yard
No.
with the kids and run them a little bit because
Gotta run them.
You gotta run them.
Gotta run those
you
kids.
gotta run
Run 'em.
out. So even if it's just like in that little, you know, here, you know, we've got these, you know, if you open this window right here, you're going to see a brick wall of
It's a
another
brick wall.
building. So there's not a lot of space, but whatever space you have, you know, you got to get out and do
Brick
some jumping
wall
jacks.
over there with the woman who has like this teddy bear sitting on her chair for 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on
I
there.
don't know. It's
Scare my kids.
But,
But
you
you-
know, to each their own. Maybe
Each
he's
their own.
the guard of the backyard.
Maybe it's
But
their mascot, whatever
there
does
are
it
a
for
couple
you.
of bunnies out there. We try to at least get the boys out, you know,
Yeah.
a bit. To
That's
play
why
in.
yesterday when they were running around the apartment and you told them to stop, I'm like, what are you doing? That's their exercise. It's gym class. Jesus.
You know, they could be chasing the urban bunnies.
That's
that are
right.
in the yard. Anyway, so what else is happening?
Well, one reason why, again, we want people to practice social distancing, it's because the confirmed cases and the deaths are increasing in the U.S. right now. 770,564 confirmed cases in the United States, almost a third of the world's cases right now, and 41,114 deaths as of this morning. Again, over 41,000 deaths in the U.S. Again, please stay inside. If you maybe even if you're keeping yourself safe, you're keeping others safe as well. We actually have a senior home over here, right?
Behind
Literally
behind the brick wall building.
behind the brick wall to the
there is a
left
senior home.
is a senior home that is under quarantine right now.
Yes.
So please,
75 units in that place. Literally, it's not even a block. It's
No.
a building away, and 75 units. The majority of the folks in there, the seniors in there, have been testing positive for
That's right.
COVID-19. So yeah, it's right there. And Lord knows, the last couple of weeks we've been hearing more and more people testing positive for COVID-19. It's right here.
That's
Like,
right.
It's not even like 6 steps away from us anymore. It's
Right.
right here.
so stay
now
inside.
more than ever. Now more than ever.
And again, to counter that, as we mentioned, the protests in Arizona, Colorado, Montana, and Washington state.
Oh, yeah, and it seems you know, the folks that you would think the right to carry folks. We're seeing a lot of Confederate flags, a lot of pickup trucks.
Now, pickup trucks, guys. Confederate flags and SWAT stickers are not ironic.
No, they're not, and we've talked about this before, unfortunately, in this
Yeah,
broadcast.
so we won't talk about that again,
Yeah.
except that both groups of those people lost. Anyway, 2/3 of Americans are actually concerned, despite what you see as far as the protests, because those are getting a lot of news right now. Actually, 2/3 of Americans are concerned about the economy opening up too soon. So the majority of people are saying, let's go slow and steady. I know this stinks, but we want this to be long lasting. We want it to be sustainable. We don't want to come out for a month and then have to go back inside for another year.
So let's listen to scientists. Let's listen to doctors. Let's
Love
listen
scientists.
to our governors.
That's right.
And let's go from there. Let's see what the data tells us and
Love the
keep each
data.
other safe.
Love the data. And so if you have any feedback, if you have any tips for this show, any feedback, any guests, any topics you'd like to bring up, please send that info to info@npunion.org. That's info@npunion.org. Follow us on Facebook as well at the National Parents Union page. Make comments as well, and please help us make this show better.
I'm super excited. We got a lot of wonderful guests this week. Nehemiah Frank from the Black Wall Street Times in Tulsa, Oklahoma, going to be joining us to talk about the impact that we're seeing on teens. Unfortunately, in Oklahoma, we're seeing a rash of teen suicide.
Yes.
Teens just not dealing well with isolation. We're going to talk to him about what's happening there and how they're trying to do everything they possibly can to stem the tide. We're going to be talking to some other experts too to figure out, where else we're seeing this and what we can do to really support our kids in this moment. It's really critically important.
Our president's coming on this week too.
That's right.
Shavar Jeffries is coming on
The
this
only
week.
president I recognize, Shavar Jeffries, the president of Democrats for Education Reform.
So that's great.
So we love Shavar checking in from Jersey. We got a lot of our friends from Jersey checking in. Tafshir. Who else? Oh, Crystal Williams.
Crystal Williams too.
Newark,
She's on
checking
fire.
in. Newark in the building. We love that.
That's right. Love those guys.
So lots of exciting guests, parents from across the country checking in just to see how they're doing. And remember, you can visit and take time with our programming all day long. This broadcast, obviously, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern in English. At noon, we're in Spanish. At 2 o'clock, it's our special programming for children with special needs.
Yes.
And their wonderful families who need support. A unique conversation happening every single day with Christina Laster. Today, our friends from the Oakland Reach are going to be on talking about what's happening in Oakland.
That's wonderful.
It's going to be fantastic. At 9 o'clock, your social and emotional checkout for parents. Did you get through the day? We're going to get through the day. And we're going to get better at this every single day. This is
That's
week
right.
6, Mama. You're getting through it. You are getting through it.
And don't forget about Thursdays. Gonna push Thursdays.
That's right.
4 p.m. Eastern time. Dad to Dad.
Dad to Dad.
With myself, John Monteleone, Jose Villarreal, and Michael Scott.
Michael Scott. I'm a huge Michael Scott fan.
Yeah, Michael Scott. After that show, Keri said to me, "Why can't you be sweet like Michael Scott?"
Seriously.
So thanks a lot, Mike.
Husbands, you got a lot to learn from Michael Scott. If you are, trying to learn how to love your lady,
Let's just all listen to
and be
Michael
a
Scott.
wonderful dad.
That's right. Michael Scott's
Michael
perfect.
Scott is the truth.
Way to
So-
go, Michael Scott.
But an incredible space for dads.
It's a
because
great space for dads. I
have
love
kind
it.
of a unique perspective to all of this. I keep going back to this segment that really stuck with me about what's going on in the minds of dads, because a lot of our stuff is kind of mom focused. A lot of the pressure on moms right now. But I just thought it was incredible. Like you guys, I'm going to take the kids out in the yard. I'm going to teach them how to dig a hole.
That's right.
But why don't my kids know how to dig a hole yet?
That's right.
Am I a failure as a dad? It was just such a wonderful.
If you want to know how to defend yourself from a rattlesnake, watch the first episode of Dad to Dad.
But even, last week, a really poignant, incredibly emotional conversation about race and, the intermingling of cultures.
Christy
What
Joyce
that's
loved the Dad Show.
That's right.
Yes, she
Dad
does.
to Dad is in the house.
Look at that.
So-
Newark in the house with Tashfir, Ernestine Key, Vivette. Hey, everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
turn into Dad to Dad.
loving to see all of our folks from across the country checking in this morning. And so glad to have all of you. But we want to bring, again, as promised, our very special guest. I was excited all weekend.
Yeah, you
that
were.
Nancy Gutierrez is here with us today, that she is joining us. She is live from New York City. She's an incredible human being. She's my sister from Edlock and just an extraordinary educator, education leader. But she's also our homegirl. So I'm so excited that Nancy Gutierrez, the president and CEO of NYC Leadership Academy, is joining us. And we're going to get her live coming up on the screen in just a minute. Our technology just takes a minute to kind of click her through. So she'll be joining us in 1 second. But she's had 20 years as a K-12 educator. She's been a teacher, a middle school principal in San Francisco. She's worked all over the country. She's an expert on this stuff. So who better to bring on and talk about, what are the things that we as parents really need to focus on? What are the things that we as parents really need to understand? And if there's only a few things that we can get to every single day, what should those things be? So Nancy, so excited to have you with us.
Hey,
So grateful that
buenos
you are
días,
here.
good morning.
Your smile is giving me life today, girl. Welcome to the show. What's it like?
Thank you for letting me put a blazer on this morning and fix my hair, the curls a little bit.
I love
I'm
it.
excited.
You look like a glamour girl. You get that powder red on too. I try to do that.
Latino red, man. Right?
Marisol, when she is on at 9 p.m., she has her beautiful. We need to bring it. We need to still bring our.
That's it.
This moment.
What does George Lopez say about Latinos that we go to 7-Eleven dressed up?
That's
Like,
right.
you know, any excuse, I'm going to put it all on, right?
Fabulous. But my best friend's mother-in-law, who is like a wonderful friend, Wilma, she bought me this gorgeous necklace that I am just dying to put on. I guess I don't need an excuse to be fabulous, but you know, we were even talking on Friday. I'm a sparkle girl. Like I wear sparkle glitter, eyeshadow. Like I come with it, right? And I haven't been doing that the last couple of weeks because it's just. I guess, you know, I'm kind of stuck in my pajamas, my house, like
The hoodie.
I had to put it on. Like I felt like I wasn't me anymore. Are you going through any of that?
All the time. But I have to say, I'm a homebody. So I love the hoodie. I love the sweats. I love the different socks, you know, like that you put on. They don't quite match, but they're comfortable. I mean, I've been really enjoying it. But it is nice to also just bring myself back every once in a while and feel good.
I want to jump into where you are in New York because you have lived all over the country. You have all this. You just moved to New York not too long ago, right?
About 7, 8 years ago.
I think it was just. I thought it was like 2 or 3 years ago, but no, New York is home yet for you now. So you know it's. You know, we always hear like you have President Governor Cuomo, as we call him on this show, and many people do. But you guys are really in the belly of the beast, and you guys are in the thick of it right now. What's it like to be in New York City in this moment?
I mean, I think a lot of it is around, you know, trying to stay inside, which is very, very difficult because everyone's in closed quarters. And so, you know, part of the beauty of our city is that we get out, we connect. You know, I always say that on my way to the subway every morning, I probably see about 100 people, you know, and by the time I get to work, I see another few hundred, and it's this beautiful sense of community that I always enjoy. And so that's the thing missing right now. It's this isolation. Part of being here is just loving being around so many amazing people, a diverse set of people every single day. And, you know, you don't get that today. You just get whoever lives in your home. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah, well, you're a homebody, so like embracing, and I think to a degree, like I feel what you're saying. I get more work done. Like if I need to bang through something, sitting on the corner of my bed in my sweats, just in my zone where nobody's asking me anything, I mean, I think that worked for me for like the first couple of weeks. And now it's like,
yeah,
you know, I need some inspiration, something. But you tell me how you've been getting through this. Have you been staying home and being strict about it? Like what you
I'm on day 30 of quarantine. And so, you know, I think as you know, my organization, we've all just been trying to work from home since very early March. We just tried to kind of shift that direction. And then, you know, I'm also from Cali. I'm from the Bay. So I have President Governor Newsom as well, who I'm looking to, and I'm missing my folks in Cali, but very proud of Cali for how fast they moved. And that is where the two people I'm worried about most right now, my mom and my dad, who are both in Cali. And so getting through it by trying to stay connected to the fam, and wish I could physically be, you know, wish you could physically be with everyone you love, protect everyone you love, but you can't do all that right now. So I gotta stay home.
Technology, like are your mom and dad, are they hopping on like FaceTime? Are they good with that? Are you being able to, you know, connect with them?
So I tried to give my mom a lesson in Zoom last weekend, and it took about 3 to 4 hours, and it didn't quite work. So now we're doing FaceTime, and we're trying to. Do you know that you can actually add up to 32 people on FaceTime at once?
Yes, this is something we've just learned.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
So so that's what. So every Sunday at about 4 o'clock their time, 7 mine, we're getting on FaceTime. Now my parents aren't together, so this is just my mom. And I have 5 brothers and sisters, so all 6 of us, we all try to hop on, and I have 14 nieces and nephews, so everyone tries to hop on. And there's something about it that feeds my mom's soul, because she feels very lonely right now, very isolated. In some ways, feels a little bit like punished, you know, because she's fragile, because she has a lot of pre-existing conditions, and her age, she can't get out, and we're being very strict, and she almost wants to protest her children, but she's been good.
That is a struggle everywhere. Tim is talking about all the time. We have his mom and dad, right above us here,
Okay.
and monitoring. It's like the children have become the parents here. Monitoring. Where are you going? Do you have your mask? You don't need to go there. You're not going to the beauty salon. You don't really need to go to the store. I will order it for you. And it's very hard because especially our parents are like used to their independence and their freedom, and it's it's crazy that the situation that we're in right now.
One time we lost control of my mother was earlier last week when the stimulus check came in. She was like, hell no, I'm going to the bank. I don't care what anybody says. This baby right here is going to get into my bank account. 1, 2, 3. So we lost control that day. But other than that, she's been great. And we've just been all 6 of us just trying to play different roles and taking good care of her. And my dad, he has his own family and his girlfriend and their kids. And they, I'm checking up on him every day, trying to just make sure that he feels connected to all of us. And he tells me that his girlfriend keeps, having parties at the house. And I'm like, that's not okay. And he's like, but no one listens to me and I don't know what to do. So I don't know his partner well. And so I just said, to stay in your room. I don't know what else to say.
Oh,
but
we were talking at the beginning
do?
about like how frustrating it is when you are trying to be disciplined about social distancing.
Right.
And then you drive down the street and you see like people on a Sunday afternoon, having picnics and playing soccer and hanging out together. And, like you get it, you understand like the want to go and do that, but it's just so reckless and irresponsible. It's like,
it's very annoying. Very frustrating.
Will last longer if we don't be disciplined about, if we're not disciplined about making sure that, we're adhering to what we're being told is the most important thing to do, which is just to stay home.
Yeah.
But what we're also noticing is that there are these beautiful moments too that are coming from this. I'm a person of faith, so I try to look for God and what I'm trying to learn from these moments. And I know a lot of people are seeking that because we need that in our lives right now. And I'm just, it fills my heart with joy. Your mom probably loves you guys all piling on FaceTime.
Yeah.
To see all of you.
Yeah, she does.
What happened before? Like, isn't that a beautiful thing? Just to be able to have that.
No, exactly. There's so much that's happening right now. I think the question I think about is like, what will carry through? Like, what are the things that are happening now that are emerging that actually should continue regardless, right? One thing I've been doing is, every morning I've been waking up and going on a really isolated walk. I get almost 4 or 5 miles a day, and it's like, I have myself on a schedule and it breaks up the typical work day. And I'm also healthier than I've ever been. Eating from home. New Yorkers, we love to eat out. So eating from home, I'm also much healthier. The family contact every week. I mean, we would talk a lot, but to have all of us just hop on for 1 hour the way we used to when we were younger on a Sunday, or even my staff, I've been thinking about how, we would have 4 times a year, we would come together for a couple of days. We'd fly in from across the country, come to New York City, and engage. And now we're doing it like on every week and a half, we're just all hopping on for 1 hour. We're Zooming for 1 hour. And I feel so connected to the team. Yeah. And it's like, why did I have to wait 4 times a year to see everyone together? Why was that happening?
Being much kinder to each other and offering grace. Yes. So, I've been on calls, work calls where, first we have a conversation, like, how are you doing? How are you doing just as a human being? How's your family? Like, what's that? In having that deeper connection. And when your kids come over and they got to sit on your lap and you're seeing little faces,
right?
Like the people you work with or the people you interact with, you see them, as human beings, as full human beings, instead of this one-dimensional, like, this is the person who handles our data. This is the person who does our development. This
the single story. Yes.
Yeah. It's, no, this is a beautiful human being that has like a life and perspective and is going through this. So, You know, that kind of brings me to our segue into your more professional role, not just as our beautiful friend, but as the president and CEO of NYC Leadership Academy. Can you tell us a little bit about your role, about your schools, and what you do in the best of times, the pre-COVID life?
Oh, pre-COVID life. So we were born about 17 years ago, and we're an organization that started in New York City, but now has supported school leaders and district leaders across 36 states. So we've been working, across. In fact, we're going to drop the NYC from our name. We're going to announce that in the next month or so, which we're excited about because we represent so many of our leaders. But I think what's interesting about our work is that we believe that leadership is a lever for everything. And I think we see that now with how much leadership matters in everything and anything we do. And, you think about times like today, right? When people so desperately are looking for people to be really effective leaders. And you ask, what does that mean? Right? What does it mean to be a really great leader? And I think that's what we try to help folks really think about and look at from the seat of a central office or a school principal, and typically people are like, oh, well, being a leader means, that your student's going to perform really well on standardized tests and do all this stuff. And when these moments highlight what leadership actually is versus these superficial definitions that we've created. So it means that you are honest. It means that you are authentic. It means that you treat people like they matter, right? And people's resumes, they last about 15 minutes. What matters more is how you actually treat people, how you interact, how you build relationships, whether or not people trust you, whether or not, you are open to feedback about, when you're doing something that could be done better. And so I think that's what I love about the work that we do. It's that we're really honing on what leadership is, what it means to be effective. And especially it's highlighted, especially during these moments.
Well, and that's what I think is so fascinating about the work that you do is, you're teaching leaders to be leaders and what that means. And it's so much bigger than just having, a school that is, well, schools are important. We've been talking a lot of schools. We've been talking about to CMOs and heads of big, organizations, but your work, it kind of spreads. You're like Johnny Appleseed. If you can build good leaders and have a school where leaders can come to really learn, like that is magical. So
it's amazing. And the part that I think is applicable during these moments and all moments is like the adaptive nature of leadership, right? That real leadership, I don't care how expert you are on content or around, I don't care how many degrees you have. Real leadership is when you are able to navigate others through adaptive spaces, which means that spaces where we have no answers, spaces that are so gray and messy where we don't it is something that, you have to be able to guide people through a really kind of messy space. And I think that's exactly what schools are, districts are. There's no easy answers to any of this in the work we do. And we don't hold up a mirror to ourselves enough. We're always doing the blame game, like, well, parents should do this, right? Students should do this. Teachers should do this. Rarely do we hold the mirror and say, what do I need to know and be able to do to be my best, to be the best leader I can be at this time? And I think that's what's amazing.
One of the things that I have learned, I've only been in the education space for about 5 or 6 years.
Keri, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. So, well, and I'm a parent activist. I was a organizer and a political organizer. So in education, becoming the mom of a wonderful kid who has special needs, and then putting my eyes to find the inequities, I'm legit just kind of stumbling through this like most parents do. But one of the early lessons that I learned in becoming, in my journey of becoming a parent activist, was learning how important leadership at the school level really is. And learning having that consistency, what a principal actually does, what a head of school actually does, and how that impacts the flow and the environment of the school. And just again, taking this, to my own personal experience, when I found that my sons were being underserved, and starting to take a look at data, and my eyes are opening about, wow, my child goes to the most underperforming school in the entire district. why is it underperforming? Why is this school that has 80% Latino children not able to achieve? Like, we know that talent is equitably distributed. Just because you're brown doesn't mean you're not brilliant. You know, what is it about what's happening in the school? And one of the things that we found that really opened my eyes was that we did not have stability of leadership. We had a rotating cycle. We had temporary principals. We had, you know, it was like a merry-go-round of leadership. So can you talk to us, just like as parents, we don't know, like, we don't know every rubric. We don't know all of the intense reasons of why and how you build, but we do know that the principal of the school or the head of the school is the captain of the ship. Why is it important that having those strong leaders and having them maintain continuity and building that culture, why is that so important, you know, when we actually are in school?
Well, look, the leader will set the culture, right? The leader will determine how you feel when you walk onto that campus. So if there's a moment as a parent where you're walking into a campus and, you know, I remember a time I was the principal of 2 different middle schools, and one of my middle schools was a large, comprehensive, it was the lowest performing in the district. It was considered a turnaround, which is code for a lot of Latinos or Black students attend the school. But we were, you know, my mom, you know, a short brown woman, Mexicana, she, you know, walks into my office. I had just been the principal for like a week. Okay. So I was like, you know, so no one knew the fam yet. They didn't know that the fam would like always be there. Right. So my mom comes in and no one acknowledged her for probably about 25 minutes. And, you know, and it was just, these are things that I knew were happening, and they happened to your mom under your leadership, even though I was new. And, you know, I would just say those are the moments when you know the culture isn't right or created in the way that it needs to be for our communities, right? When you walk onto that campus, you should feel so special. You are the people we are here to serve, right? You are the people we are designing and thinking about, like, how do we make your experience the best experience? You know, family members, community members, our students, and that remains true for today. The principal today in this virtual world, in this quarantine world, should be thinking about the experience of the parent, the experience of the student. I don't care, you know, where in the country, or we do it virtually or physically. The experience is what I, as the leader, am responsible for. So just know that, like, we as school leaders, district leaders, like, we hold that responsibility to serve you at every moment. That's the only reason we're in business, folks. The only reason.
I was listening to you talk about this because, you know, it's, you know, I've been in that boat where you walk into an office and they don't even look at you.
That's some bullshit.
It's crazy, right? And so, you know, from a parent perspective, you know, the thing that really wounds my heart, you know, if I'm being honest, is like, you know, I send my children to you. Like, this is my heart that lives outside my body. Most important thing in my life. And I trust that you're gonna take care of my babies, you know, and that I have to build a relationship with you because I need you to guide me. I'm not an educator. I'm not a principal. We have to make very important decisions about my children together. You know, I've got to be able to trust you. You've got to be able to understand me. And, you know, parents, you know, just because we're poor, Black, or brown doesn't mean we're stupid. You know, we're smart. We have a lot of things that you're going to need to, you know, make sure that you're being effective for my children. We need to build a relationship together. So when you say that about, like, your mom walking in for 25 minutes, I've been in that boat. I've walked in with parents and kind of, you know, now we have a whole curriculum around, like, when you walk into a school, like, and you're being treated like that, how do you overcome that? How do you, like, start to change and build a culture of respect for parents, and so that you are treated the way that you want to be treated? Work with leaders that way, from our perspective to you.
Hold us accountable. Absolutely. And that leader should be the person that is, you know, has that exponential impact across the entire culture. I'm still not convinced that change happens classroom by classroom. I'm convinced it happens system by system. And so that's where the leader becomes accountable and responsible for shifting that culture, right? For making sure that there's access, making sure that there's connectivity, making sure that's our job. Hold us accountable for it.
Because you set the pace. You
everything.
This is what's acceptable.
Everything. We even determine per research whether or not our most effective teachers stay. Your favorite teachers. we will be responsible for whether or not we can keep that person. Right. So there's so much within that leader and effective leadership that matters. And again, I don't care if you were an expert math, instructor. When you move to leadership, there's actually a transition of skills that has to be, have to be developed. It's not just so, and that I think matters really deeply, and we can't take that for granted. That leadership is actually really unique.
That's another thing that I've learned from my friend John Clark, who heads up the Brook Charter Schools here in Boston, because I'm always very curious around, what is happening in that school? What's the secret sauce? Because they are achievement gap killers, opportunity gap assassins.
Nice.
Something happening in there, and
Yeah.
We want to figure out what it is, bottle it, and ship it out across the country because it's magic.
Knowing that every context is different, so you can ship it out, but people will adjust. I'm just throwing that point in. Yeah.
I'm always after him all the time as the head of school. I'm like, what are you doing? What is it? And he says, there's a difference between, folks that are administrators and kind of running and master teachers. Not every master teacher is going to be a brilliant principal. And
Exactly.
how do we decide who has the skill set, has the larger vision to kind of implement across the school versus who is a master teacher who's just brilliant in the classroom? We need those folks in front of our babies, empowered by administrators.
Let's keep them in there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. Like you're talking about different skill sets and or the transition of skill sets. I think. I don't know, what's your perspective? Do you think too often we take a great teacher and say, oh, we're going to make you a principal now? And is that always the right thing to do?
Look, I think that's why we were created, right, 17 years ago in New York City, because I think there was an acknowledgement that it required, we have to invest in people if we want them to become leaders. You can't just plop. I think when I became a principal, it was like, oh my gosh, you're a great teacher, good luck, and you just try your best, it's sink or swim, you're going. But I think, in our work, we acknowledge that transition. And the transition doesn't mean let's throw you in and give you night classes. It doesn't mean go to a local university because that's going to help you figure it out. It means how can we truly, in our case back, when we were launched, we were providing 1 year of learning. So they were able to, get paid their salary while having a full year under a master principal and trying on these different leadership skills. They were able to be in a 6-week summer intensive within a cohort of a really, contained cohort of learning, intense learning. They were able to, and we were also being really clear about diversifying our pipeline and adding more women to leadership roles. And, so there were so many aspects of what it means to be a leader that we were invested in. You can't just throw people in. And I think that's the problem, is that we do that too often. We say, you're a great teacher, good luck. But how about you're a great teacher? We think there's potential. Why don't we engage in a learning process? And let me tell you, not everyone made it through to the other end. And not only on us in not seeing that leadership would, be effective, but the fact that they were like, maybe this isn't for me. And you want that.
Yeah.
You want to expose. It's not just let's move you up. It's let me try this on. Let me see if this is something that I'm good at and that makes me feel fulfilled as a person.
Because how many administrators have you talked to, during the course of your career who say oh God, I just wish I was in the classroom.
We have 2 to 3 year. Why do you think we have 2 to 3 year transitions, in leadership roles? We almost move it too fast. And I think the key is that we don't invest in people. We just don't.
And what you were saying too, that I really want to underline is the diversification, because we've been working here in Massachusetts on a project called the Influence 100, trying to diversify the superintendencies across.
We're running that, right?
Are you really?
What?
No, I was working with Cheryl Camacho.
So you and Cheryl, you guys launched it, but you needed people to actually deliver and to partner with the university to get credentialed. So we are your people.
I love that. Well, I didn't realize that, because that's the technical piece that we'll have to work out. I'm here to help build the pipeline and say, yes, we want this, and kind of hold folks' feet to the fire. But so firsthand,
we just had a session last Friday. Yeah.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, I'm always talking about this because I think it's so important. We have to be intentional about building that pipeline. And so
yes, in New York City, when we were born to put more leaders of color, more women, and currently our graduates are about 66% leaders of color in New York City. It is not by accident that our principal pool here in the city is very diverse. That's not by accident. That was intentional, and that was 17 years ago. So we're talking about it today in so many settings, but that was talked about almost 20 years ago, right? In one of the greatest cities in our country, one of the greatest city that's really suffering and could use some kudos and props, right?
I love it. I love it. So, and it is critically important. As
Well, look at that, Keri. We have a connection through Influence 100. Look at that.
We have built into our curriculum, one of our 5 hallmarks that we know are best practices for overcoming the achievement and opportunity gap is that our babies need to see themselves reflected in leadership. You cannot wait to see Black and brown excellence until you're in college and you see your first Black or brown professor. So we're on board for that. You providing the technical expertise, I love it. We're in good hands.
It's cool.
All right. So while we have you here, we got to turn to what's happening during. I could talk to you for a million years about this stuff, but I need your brain to help us as parents understand. And I want you to put your principal hat back on. I want to put you to put your school leader hat back on, because a lot of us are drowning. We are drowning. And, from my perspective, what I am seeing is a lack of that real strong leadership, that backbone, where we're seeing teachers trying to figure things out in fits and starts. We're getting a million different messages from a million different people. Frankly, like I've got 3 kids, 2 in one school, an elementary school, because they're in first and second grade. And my oldest is in 6th grade. I have gotten so many emails from so many different people, so many different websites, so many different pieces of technology. It is overwhelming. Where, in these moments where we are trying to hold on to our jobs. Some of us are essential workers. We got to go out every day. Who's taking care of our babies in this moment? Like the schools are closed, and some of us still have to work. Some of us are on hold with unemployment for 8.5 hours trying to file. It's very difficult right now. You're worried about housing. If you have to go to one of these food sites, you've got to go a couple times a week, and sometimes you got to go on public transportation just to get what you need to take care of your babies at home. On top of all this, and then we're not even talking about parents who are actually working at home and trying to manage both of these things. Then it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. So much information, people really well intended. I just wish in this moment we had some leadership. Like I would love for the principal to have convened the teachers and said, all right, we're going with Google Classroom. Okay, we're going to give parents, this website, and this website. We're going to streamline things, just make it easy. Understanding our context and bringing some humanity to this in this moment. So could you just talk to us as parents? Like we're feeling overwhelmed. None of us, not all of us have that leadership from schools that we're getting right now. People, because they're human beings too. They're trying to figure this thing out, and it's hard. But we're feeling the pressure, and it's our homes that have now turned into classrooms, which I don't really believe either. But we're just trying to do the best we can. What should we give us some guidance from?
Well, I think first you said it, we're all learning. I think we're all learning. We're all trying our best. We're in, and I think the first thing is be okay with giving us feedback. I mean, I think, like if something's not working, even if it's like, hey, because when I ask anyone who's 5 years old, 6, 7, and I say, tell me one good thing about being home and one bad thing that, the bad things, there's like, always like, good thing, my PJs, bad thing, I don't see my friends. That's the answer I get every single time. And so even if it was feedback to say, hey, Miss Rodriguez, if that were your teacher, my child really needs social interaction. Is there a way for you to do something for 10, 15 minutes a day or, a week? Or I think give the feedback. And if that feedback isn't being heard or listened to, and it's important feedback, do not be afraid to talk to the principal. Again, this is our job. It is our job to make sure your experience is the experience you need right now, right? We should be creating an experience that works for you right now. So don't be afraid to give feedback. The other thing, and I'll talk specifically to our Latino families, is that, I was raised the same way, which is that, we would trust in authority and we wouldn't necessarily advocate. And I would say, like, now is the time to advocate. Right now is the time to say things that you wouldn't normally say. Now is the time to ask the questions you may not be comfortable asking. Now is the time to, because I think that you have a role in shaping what this is. And we actually don't know how long this will continue, right? I know that, these silly protests are going on, but if we want to keep everyone safe, this could be going on for a while, which means that we need your voice now more than ever to help us learn how to do right by you, how to do this really, really well.
Hey, Nancy, it's been tough because, I'll tell you, I was in the Boston Globe last week talking about parent perspective, feeling overwhelmed, saying, if you're bombarding me with too much information, even as a parent who can work from home, I can't, I zone out. Like I say, I can't open any more emails today. We're going to do prodigy math and you're going to read Captain Underpants.
Who's emailing you? I don't get it. Like what, don't you, so okay, tell me.
The teacher, the music teacher, the assistant principal, the principal, somebody wants to read you a story at night at 7 o'clock. Like there are so many emails and that's for one kid. So imagine, like a lot of us have multiple kids. I have 3 little boys. And then I get some emails, I get some emails saying we're setting up an email account for your child. Email us if you want to opt out of that. And then for my older child that was like, well, email us if you want to opt in. And I confused the two because there were so many emails. And then I'm getting barked at by the principal of the middle school saying, well, you didn't opt in. And how is he going to use Google Class? And I was like, I'm sorry, I thought it was an opt-out, and to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm trying to work. These kids are doing the best. They're doing great on Prodigy Math. They're making progress. I can see that. And, nobody killed each other today. I got 3 little boys. They fight. They want to run.
Right.
I'm just going to call today. We're going to, and tomorrow we're going to have a snow day. We're going to take a deep breath and it's a sunny day and we're going to go outside and take a deep breath. Like,
you gotta do what works for you. Right. And I think you're right. This is where leadership comes in, is that there should be a streamlined process. You shouldn't be overwhelmed with all of this information. Right. And also that everything should be relevant, right, to what our students actually want to learn. Isn't this an opportunity for our schools and our leaders to say, like, hey, let's let curiosity guide thinking and guide learning as we engage, versus something that's so disconnected and all this weird accountability now falling on your shoulders. It is really time for us to step up.
That's the thing. So after, I made some comments in the Boston Globe about this. You should have seen the attacks. How dare you attack teachers? They're doing the best they can. Oh my. So there's not even an opportunity. I feel like parents can't even express, it's not us not being grateful that you're providing us resources. Thank you. But can you accept some feedback about, and accept some context so that we can tell you, listen, we want to do the best we can here. But the other thing too is understanding that, like, my living room is not a classroom. And we know during the best of times, my little boys act very differently at home than they do in your class. When we go to a parent-teacher conference, and I tell you, especially the baby David, who is my heart, the love of my life. But my gosh, does he give me a run for my money at home? But then I talk to his teacher. David is the best, most sweetest guy. He follows all the rules. I'm like, where is that kid at home? It is very different at home. So that didn't change because the pandemic happened. So I just wish there was some more compassion, some more understanding, and understanding grace, that we have, some, like, a moment of reflection where we're saying, you know what, parents, they need support right now. And if all they can do is read to their kid for 30 minutes today, like, we're going to give them an attaboy because they're getting through it. Because you're not going to turn us into teachers in 6 months. Like, that's not reality.
No. And let me just give you kudos and thank you for giving feedback. I think, through the Boston Globe, and you're doing exactly what I'm saying, is like, give us feedback because we're trying to be the best we can, and you're doing that. And this is actually true any day and during non-pandemic times, which is that it's hard for us to take feedback. It's hard for our egos. It's hard for the fact that we're investing so much time and energy, and the fact that we're all learning. There's almost a big lesson here about how to receive feedback in ways that, are very honest and truthful. This is what you're doing, is you're trying to help us learn how to do this better.
So maybe
that should be happening.
maybe beyond talking to parents, we do have a lot of educators and a lot of school leaders that watch this. What advice do you have for them? Like, as we try to give them feedback, maybe open up a little bit, like this is not a moment to be, fighting. Like, we all need each other in this moment, but like, what advice would you give?
I think you said it. I think we have to give each other grace. And again, I think we have to, I think the key here is around structure, around what kind of structure can be put in place at home. And the structure might be that for 30 minutes you're online with your teacher, and the rest of the day, it may not be in that we're trying to mirror the school system, right? The way it was in the past. So we have to be really creative. We have to give each other grace. The last thing we want to do is try to convert our dysfunctional system to an online setting. That's the last thing we want to do. So how can we partner together? This actually also, I think, lifts why parent partnership is so important in our schools. It's not just true during a pandemic, but always, how do we listen to each other's voices and make, again, back to the experience. Our job is to make your experience as a parent an experience that works for you and for the individual needs of your children. That's it. That's the big goal, folks, whatever that means. And it may not mean a textbook. It may mean that, and my mom used to cook flour tortillas with us in the morning with some beans and huevito, and maybe I'm cooking with her, and my assignment that day is to take that to write exactly the steps we made, and then need to write a story about it, me and my mom cooking, and then to read that all week and to develop it and to talk a little bit about the origins. There's various ways to differentiate what's happening in real life to learning, which is what should be happening anyway in our schools. And our school leaders, I think, and our teachers know that learning has to be relevant. So how do you make it relevant to today? And how do you give our parents and our families grace in order to really create an experience that is working for them? Again, that's our only goal, to come out of this, to get out of this together, personally, professionally, all of that.
My last question for you: how does this moment change your work? Are you thinking about that, and how you may be calling upon, you're a school of leadership, and teaching the leaders. So how are you going to take them through this learning process that they're going through? Do you see this as a moment where your work kind of evolves, and how do you see that?
Well, I think, we are an equity-focused organization. Everything and anything we do, calls out the ills of society and how they play out in schools. I think one of the biggest lessons here, it's something that I've known, but maybe not something that we've been really explicit about, which is really around our Asian American Pacific Islander experience. I think it speaks to the fact that we, in many ways, have left out the nuances of that experience in ways that are unfair to the community. And that we need to be really much more explicit around, being advocates for a variety of experiences. And I think that's something we're thinking about a lot. It's like, during this time, our AAPI communities continue to need us, and we need to be advocates. And we also need to figure out how to be more inclusive when we talk about equity, I think, is one big piece. Another big piece is that we are, when you can engage virtually around leadership, you can actually create a lot more access. So, we work in across 36 states, but really, it's still limited in terms of who gets to experience this amazing learning opportunity based on our ability to fly places and engage and bring cohorts together. When we create it virtually, there's so much more room for accessibility to so many more leaders. If I think about where I grew up in East San Jose, California, and I had a very small district, they could never afford to work with someone like us. Right? Because we're small, we're homegrown, we're, predominantly Mexicano, predominantly, immigrant first, second generation, and we did our best. But could we ever have access to the best thinking in New York City around leadership? No. But when it's virtual, it opens so many doors in ways that I think, again, we've known, but we've been too busy to sit down and figure out how to create those pathways. So I think it actually does a lot of good for a lot of us.
It's so similar in the parent sphere as well. Because the National Parents Union, now providing resources, whether they're technical, the hardware, laptops, Zoom technology, the capacity to go on live, producers, like maintaining those connections for our parent organizations, keeping us all connected. So we do trainings together and share resources and build solidarity. Like, so much of this, it's wonderful. We were able to fly everybody down to New Orleans and had 200 different organizations there to build the Parents Union. But in this moment where we're reimagining our work, the same thing, we're deepening our connections because we are connecting through technology, and folks that would never have the ability to have access to these resources are now connecting and sharing things online. So again, going back to what we said earlier in the conversation, there's beauty in this moment too.
Yes.
And we're outside our comfort zones. It makes us a little uncomfortable, but that gets us to move a little bit. So I guess that's the work we've been given. That is the work we've been given. Nancy,
Agree.
thank you so much for being with us. Nancy Gutierrez,
My
the
pleasure.
CEO of NYC Leadership Academy, soon to be
The Leadership Academy.
Leadership Academy.
Very creative, right?
Working in 36 states. She is the principal of a school that teaches leaders how to be leaders, principals how to be principals, heads of school how to be heads of school. It's fantastic, and sprinkling equity and that conversation, which is so critically important to all of us at the National Parents Union, and really building on our founding principles of diversification in our educational experience. So your work is so tied to ours, so different, but so necessary that we partner together. I'm so excited. We just love you as a human being too. So nice to see your smile this morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good to see you as well. Thank you all for having me.
Wonderful. Well, guys, that's our program for today. I'm so grateful to have all of you across the country with us, joining us. What a wonderful conversation, Tim, to have with Nancy this morning. I love her.
It was great, and she got a lot of engagement. She was firing people up.
Yep.
Special shout outs to Christina Laster, Cash Fair Cosby. Who else was on here? Everyone was commenting. We had people from Texas, all across the country giving feedback. So please go visit them right now on New York City Leadership Academy.org.
Yes.
We posted that website right up on Facebook, so please go visit that right away.
It's incredible. And I didn't even know our work that we're doing here in Massachusetts.
Good to know.
Influence 100. Nancy working on that and working with the folks that we're trying to get.
That makes you feel good.
Wonderful. I know they're in good hands.
Because I sat in on a couple of those sessions and you wonder, well, what happened to that? Who's taking that?
The credentialing, all of that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Getting our potential candidates for these superintendencies. You got to go through. You have to have a license to be a superintendent. You got to have a license to do everything. You don't just get the job and sit in the seat. You got to get the license.
That's right.
And Nancy and her folks working to make sure that the folks that need to get that licensure and are going through that process are well supported. I'm so excited.
That was such a great show.
That made my day.
Well, I'm excited too because I want to close this out with one thing. Elvin Atkins, one of my Park Dad friends, who watches this show and watches Dad to Dad, he had a big victory last week.
Tell me.
He cooked for his daughter. And first he said he was really nervous. He cooked it. And then Elvin said his daughter kind of liked it. And then she said she loved it. And then she ate the whole bowl of lobster raviolis.
Lobster ravioli, man.
Elvin, whoa.
How old is she too?
If she is my oldest son, she is 8.
Wow. It's really hard to introduce new foods to our
But way to really set the tone there.
Yeah.
Lobster raviolis, man.
Man, Alvin, can you come over here and cook?
Yeah, I was having leftover Chinese food over the weekend.
Yeah, I love some lobster ravioli.
So way to go, Alvin. Way to go to all those other Park dads who are just trying to survive right now. So we appreciate that. And way to go with everyone here who's been commenting. Look at those 26 comments there. Tash Fear, Jill Grossman, thank you so much. Christina Laster again. People are fired up today. You got people fired up today. It's just Monday.
So advocacy is important. That's what we learned this morning. Don't forget to give your feedback. If something's not working for you with your teacher, with your school, speak up. Let your voice be heard.
That's right.
All right. Thanks for being with us today. We'll be back again tomorrow, Tuesday. Excited to be joined by Mira from Prepared Parents.
I can't wait.
And a whole host of other exciting guests this week. Come back and see us again. Nice to have you today.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.